Got a new U.S. Open champ. Got lots of stuff to talk about, including a new putter to unbox in front of you guys. Very first time we're both going to see it. And a whole bunch more other stuff. Next on What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. Welcome back to What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. Why is it What's in My Drawers? Because old club makers and club fitters are tremendous pack rats, and I'm no different. It's about what was in the drawers in the shop. And what it's turned into is a discussion on golf club fitting, golf club repairs, golf club reviews, and a few other things in between. And it's turned into quite the little community. So we're keeping this thing going. All righty. So congratulations to Brooks Koepka. He did very well by winning. Victor Hovland, apparently is struggling with closing still, but he's getting ever closer. So let's see some good things for him. Next thing is the work we got going on in the shop. This one's going to go for a bit because we got quite a bit done. So the first one, this is only half of a set. This is the Mizuno T22s, obviously in 50. There's a 55 and a 58 there. And a Makefield Tour putter. The Makefield Tour putter did very, very well in the fitting. And the gentleman went all Mizuno except for that. There's the other half of it. He went in with some, those are the blades, and some Mizuno hybrids. Pardon me. Now the thing here is I think he was kind of wanting to look at Mizuno, but I don't think he was thinking about a whole set. And he got the traditional grips on it. I don't think he was looking at the traditional set like that. He was really wanting to get in some blades, and that's just what happened. And they just ended up fitting into the rest. So that was kind of unique in that sort of special way. This was a a last minute. So this guy's been a longtime customer of ours, and he goes back and forth between clubs. So he went and got fit by a PXG fitter up north, and ended up with a set of these things. And although very cool looking, I think they look very functional. Fit him into something. It was a little long, and so we went through the set and came back that he liked the specs that we had for him. I just had him choking down on the clubs just to show him the difference, and it was night and day difference. He went from like a 145, 150 carry to a 170 carry with a club, and it was all about quality of hit. It's just about finding the middle of the club. The rest of it wasn't too bad. Now, what I did find out was, pardon me, that the driver needed adjustment, which was what this thing here on the right is. The 3-wood needed cut down just a skosh, and everything was in stiff flex except for the hybrid. And the hybrid was a regular. I couldn't figure that one out, but maybe he was just getting tired or whatever. And so I went out there and I got him a Paradigm with a stiff shaft in it and started smoking it. So I think that might have been a misstep, but it is what it is. So now he's happy. We got him going. All righty, next set. Here we go. Another Mizuno set. These are I believe they're hot metals, and with an Odyssey Tri-Hot, the Model 7 Tri-Hot. That thing's heavy, and it's great. All right, if we look a little closer, yeah, Hot Metal Pros. And we put some Modus, and I believe these are the 120s. Put 120s with some jumbo grips on them. Did pretty good there. And this was a special order putter. The clubs are a little bit long, and the putter was 36 inches. He stands a little bit taller to the ball, and his arms are a little shorter. So that's what we ended up with, is something like that. And it putted very, very well. Had to bend it, though. All right, next set is another set. You see the graphite shaft that's going in these guys, and they look to be regular hot metals. And these are the CPX midsize, and the dark here you see, you won't be able to see the shafts so much. These are VRTX from Project X, and the VRTX is actually a very nice shaft. I've got a set of them sitting like right. Well, let's see, right. Oh, behind me. There they are, right there. They say VRTX on them, and so what they do is they go by the weight class like a lot of them are doing now, and they get progressively stiffer as the weight goes up. And the 80 gram, surprisingly, has been doing very, very well. All right, like the texture of the CPXs, and away we go. Another set, Wilson Dynapowers, and we're redoing this set. This golfer had been fit here, and we made a set of the previous sets, like the D7s, I believe, and maybe even the D9s. Anyway, he was looking to upgrade, and he bought the set bought the set stock, went to go use it, and didn't like it. And okay, and so he sent them to us, and apparently he didn't like them so much that the top three of these still had plastic on them. The other ones he had hit. So what we did here is we put some Acra I Series 7s in these based on some improvements that he's made. And then we put the oversized wind grips on them. So that one went pretty decent. And then what I'm in the current, and this is important because this one's going to be a video uh, on how to build this club. I don't know if I showed you. I don't think I did, but maybe I did. The TCB or the 14s. I don't know if I showed you these or not. Anyway, 14s. These are TCB 7s, and if you look, what it is, if you look right in here, it looks a lot like a blade, but there's a big sole on them and a very decent top line, very large, also very strong. Oh, okay. So I hadn't. And they're a Forge Club by 14, and 14 is a Japanese company. And if we look here, we can tell that there's a heel relief, and they kill the leading edge. Very little offset. So this would be very much in what they would call a player's distance iron. So they're trying to give you the best of both worlds in a blade where there's a lot of, there's a lot of soul and a lot of moving that center gravity back, then a little bit of weight on the top, and then basically it's just blade in the middle. I'm making a set of these for a golfer. And when you get down to the bottom, he stops at the pitching wedge. So we get to he has a 48 in these Adele's. Now, Adele has several different grinds in his arsenal. This one is a C grind, and now we'll take a look at it like that. Standard issue, except for I like the shape. The shape is really nice. But if you look, the lines go all the way across, and there's very little out here, but it's still part of the face. I don't know if you can see it when you get really, really close. I'm going to try and get a little closer here. But there's a cross hatching in here to make it a little bit more coarse. And but I just like the look of it from that end of it. Comes with weights, so you can tailor made your tailor make your feel, your set, however you want it weighted. And this is the one I don't like. This grinding, that's some pretty radical grinding. There's a lot of heel relief, a lot of toe relief, and then there's a lot of sole here. If you look, it's actually kind of rounded on the back, but I don't know if it's going to show up. But there's some. There it is. There's some of that ribbing that goes across. That's classic TaylorMade. And I'm just trying to see if I can catch the light for you. There's some I just can't quite get it to get caught in the camera. Anyway, and the very thing I was telling folks, I said if it didn't have this, it looked pretty cool. And as if you're seeing it from a distance, that's not so bad. It's kind of a radical heel toe relief, but I don't like the lines on the bottom. It's too distracting for me. Now they have another one that's a T grind. This is the 60. Again, nice shape, right? There's nothing gross about it. Now this one, if you look, there's a little bit more trailing edge that's just gone with some. It's a smoother heel to toe grind is what it is, with a little bit flatter. And this, I believe this is a lower bound. Oh, this is the 48, sorry. A little bit lower with you can see there's a killed leading edge here, and then it's rounded. And again, it still has the lines on it, which you can't see. So anyway, I'm making that for a golfer in Maryland. And to add a little bit of difficulty is we are going to use the Axiom shafts from Fujikura 125X. Now, this is where it gets interesting. These, or even those, are taper tip, and these are not. Now, as a whole, I would normally just ream these things out and not even think twice about them. And I'm still not there yet. But it would appear to me that there's not a lot of meat in this hosel. And it could be they want to put there so you could put more into the head and for its design purposes. Now, do I think reaming this thing out was it 15 thousandths is going to be a big deal? No, I do not. However, it just didn't look that way. And what caught my eye was if you go to the website for these guys, it says that you can trim them for taper tips. Now, what they mean by that, I can only imagine because they have a unique trim code for these guys where it starts out at a 0, goes to a half, goes to a 1. Then it goes there's a set for the long irons, the 2, 3, and the 4. Then the 5, 6, and the 7 are the mid irons, and it starts at a 0, a half, and a 1 trim. And it goes into the short irons, which is 9 on down or 8 on down, and it starts at 0, half, and an inch, and that's it. But then there's a little block across the bottom that says you can trim them for taper tip. Now, what does that mean? Well, and what I've always said in a lot of these other videos, if the shaft has a lot of meat on it, which this one does, that you could taper the shaft without any really impacting the structural integrity of the shaft. So that's what we're going to do for the video. We're going to show folks how to do that and build these things up. Now, I might cop out halfway through and just ream them, but who knows? We'll see that one. All right, last thing I just got some of these in, and I've been going through these things pretty decently, is the Cleveland RTX 6 in the mid. Now, they have several different ones, but this is for one of those sets I just showed you. This was the ending part of it. So I got the 56 and the 60 I got to put together. So we got that. All righty. To go a little bit off topic, and then we'll come right back to it. This weekend, we celebrated Mother's Day late and some birthdays with Mrs. McGolf and our in-laws, which we get along with famously. How about that? And it's become a thing now. Every year they come down here and we'll do some barbecue. They bring some dishes and we just sit outside and have a good time. And this is what I made. Beef brisket. And it came out pretty good. So after I got her all cooked up, and this is what it ended up looking like. We got the slices, we got some burnt ends, and then the company brought cheesy potatoes, which went over great. So that was pretty good. And then today, I don't know about you guys, I'm venturing out into some new territory with you guys. Here's of late, I've been getting into vinyl, and I mean vinyl is in vinyl records because I've got a record player. Of course, I'm old enough to actually know what I've had the original records. Anyway, I've got my very first Beatles album, Abbey Road. I haven't even taken it out of the plastic yet. So we're going to see how that one works out. I'm going to listen to that later on. So that was kind of fun. All righty. Now on to this. So you guys know that I'm a member of My Golf Spy, and they have these forum members testing uh, uh, availabilities. And what they do with that is they'll send you to the item, whether it's a shoe, a golf ball, a driver, a wedge, a putter, a push cart, whatever, and then you got to review it using a kind of a standard forum so that everybody can read it the same, and that makes sense. And I finally got selected, which I never thought in a million years I would, and I got selected for a L.A.B putter. L.A.B golf. All right. For those of you who don't know what L.A.B golf is the home of the directed force putter, and it has a shape that is very similar to that guy right there on the logo. Now, the directed force putter is a branding iron. The thing is a monster, but Sam, the owner of the group, has several different varieties now. And so far, I've gone through this little fitting process that you do that's on the internet. He does it through the net, and he's got some sort of program. Well, Sam's a pretty smart guy, so I get away with that. So, after waiting a while, Sam was going to be on here, but he's traveling. So we'll certainly have him on here after a bit when our time frames match up. And so we're going to open it and see what it looks like together. All right, so I got my shipping order. I got a left-handed club. Ha ha! All right. Oh, look what he did for me. Very cool. All righty. So, comes in a bag, and I got of course, it's a USA setup. I'm going to get that. That's for sure. And it's all here in a sealed bag. Nicely done. All right. Well, I have an unsealer. Let's see what this looks like. And it says, "You deserve a pat on the back. You're pretty smart for buying a L.A.B golf putter. Seriously, the thing basically stays square by itself. Why would any serious golfer play with anything else?" All right, number one, what not to do. Oh, I like this part. We've hand balanced your putter. Don't mess with the screws. I like that one. It's been tested multiple times for balance. Number two, don't bend the shaft. Trying to bend the shaft of the lead putter for any reason. It's right on the crease too, by the way. For any reason is a bad idea. The angle of your putter is fixed and can't be adjusted. Bending the shaft will cause damage to the head. All right, what to do? Use your head cover. We're using premium metals and finishes on our putters, but it's still a good idea to use a head cover to prevent a ding or a scratch. Okay. Remove white marks with water. Our L.A.B putters have incredibly durable finishes. Over time, you might see white marks appear on the head. If you have a DF one or a Mez one, grab a towel, wet it, and wipe it. Add a dab of oil from time to time. If your putter finish is starting to look dull, give it a wipe down with a dab of oil. All right. I like that. They give you some warnings right out of the box. All right. Let's take this bad boy off. All righty. So, we get the L.A.B golf. Let's start with the grip. He didn't want me they had their like a putter grip that is on the directed force. He didn't want that. He wants this one. And this is the 1.5 press number. There we go. 1.5. And initial thoughts on, it does do that. Okay. So it is off center. So if you see that where it goes off to the side, and what that does is that forces the stroke through. And without looking at it, it's very, very rounded. It does have a flat. It's not very pronounced, but it fits in the hand pretty good. I like it. All right. The next part is that it's an Acra putter shaft. Look at that. Me being an Acra guy. It says engineered for L.A.B golf by Acra with its little logo. And this is going to be the low torque because Acra has several several different putter shafts in several different weights. And where they start at 100 and go to 400, and that's basically from the lightest to the heaviest, and they have very, very little torque. So we're good there. All right, it's a magnetic head cover, which I like. All right, it closes up just real easy. The white's going to get pretty dirty. Hey, look at that on the bottom. Very, very cool. All right, so we got that. And it is the Mez Max. Made in the USA. This thing looks like it could take on an army from the dark side after a nuclear bomb. Look at this thing. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weights. I'm going to assume this is what's holding the head in. It looks like it. And there's the face. There we go. Oh, that was kind of cool. That turned out pretty good. And where you saw the dark area, that dark area right here, there's a bunch of lines. Again, I'm sure the camera's not picking that part up. And it looks, and it's pro set. So you see where here's the face, and then here's the setup like that. So in reality, what I'm seeing is, okay, so if this putter grip is forward and it goes all the way down to here, where it's sitting in front of that, the front of this grip is really even with the front of that face. So that's not so bad. I mean, it's not, I mean, it takes some time to get used to. And then I asked for the 3 lines. They had different alignment things that you could use, and I saw the 3 lines and I thought it was cool. I also asked for the platinum finish, so it gives it more of a metallic look. They had black and red and orange and that kind of stuff. I just thought this was more classic with the black shaft, and then I didn't know it was going to be black and white, but if I'm okay with that. So not too bad. Haven't put with it yet. I haven't even put it on the ground yet. So very cool. So what we're going to be doing is talking about this because it's part of the review, right? That's what they're asking me to do, is review it. I just happen to be a little more uniquely qualified to be able to talk about specifics. So this is going to be fun. And hopefully the rest of some of those other My Golf Spires got to see theirs, because half of us have got them and the other half don't. And there's a couple in Australia. So this ought to be a fun try. Okay, so we got through the food, we got through the putter, we got through the making, we got through the other stuff. Did the check. Let's go do some comments. Oh, wait a minute. We'll use that as the putter as the topic because we're right there. I was going to talk about some fittings or about the builds, but we got this. All righty, all the way to the top. Let's go. Boom. All righty. Danny Johnson's on first. Could you explain the different necks on the Odyssey putters and who each are for? I currently use a face balance number 7. I can to an extent, because I've got probably one of each sitting outside. All right, so different putters. So they have bladed putters and they'll have mallet putters. And not each putter will be able to have every one of the same necks because of the style. Typically, the very first style is the one that goes straight in or it goes over the post. And that can be, in a lot of cases, it's either straight in, which is a straight shaft. Typically, the straight shafts are used on the center, or the center, where they go right into the middle. Wow. And the other one is it has these 2 bends in it, i.e. a double bend. And what that does is it gets the putter to face balance, meaning that the face is looking up at the sky. And then you have one that is called an S neck. And again, in the mallet, it's a little bitty neck. It can't be this much, and it comes down, or it goes down, goes over, and then comes back in. And what that does is that allows you to use the same kind of putter, put a different neck in, and instead of being face balance, it toe dangles every so amount. Okay. Now, those are, I'm trying to think. There's one more. There's I called a flow neck, where it just kind of, it's a longer neck, and it just kind of comes back, and it gives it the idea of, you can do a straight in shaft, but you still get that double bend flavor. Now, what are they good? What are each one good for? Now, the other part we got to do with this is in balance, Danny, and the balance is face balance, toe dangle, slight, toe dangle, minimum, and it's just a hanger. And then that particular case, ooh, we ought to try that. Is that it's toe up, and that's what this thing is supposed to do. Let's try that. I forgot to show you that. This has they call it torque balancing, but if I was to let it go, there it is. See how it's toe up there, right? And really, if I got a revealer and I let it go, it ought to go back, right back up to there. So you have a face balance, which is kind of really odd that I'm using this, but toe balance, face balance, toe dangle of different of, and the amount of toe dangle means something else as well. All right, so face balance. Until I start talking with Salmon, he'll say something else. uh, the world would say face balance is for somebody who's straight back, straight forward. I would be more inclined that putter I just showed you is more true to form for that. But we're so used to a little bit of swing, that's the way it is. So again, what we have putters that's putting styles, straight back, straight forward. That means the path is like this, and the face doesn't move much like that. Then you have straight back, straight forward, where the person is bending the face, and that happens a lot, right? This is probably very common. Then you have arcing putters, and it's basically called Ben Crenshaw, and the putter arc is on the path, and then either one, the face stays straight, which that's pretty hard, or the putter opens and closes as it's arcing as well. And some of the best putters on the planet did that, but they're also very streaky. So now what works for work? In general, this is just to get it going. So putters that tend to toe dangle are for putters for golfers that will do like this or will do like this. All right, the smaller toe dangle, straight back, straight forward, but they open the face. The larger arc, and the whole idea is bringing the face to square. If you cannot bring the face to square, it doesn't matter what you have. All right, that you have to square the face. And no matter what kind of machine we're using to measure it with, it doesn't matter if you can't square the face. Now, these are typical balances that should help you do that. Okay. And the face balance, straight back, straight forward. And that's how they're supposed to work. All right. Hopefully that helps. All right. Jim from Scotland. Good first name, Jim. Thanks for last week's mention. Not a problem, sir. You're the one that deserved it. Really enjoyed the Shaft videos. Excellent regarding his choices. Really enjoyed chat. No problem, bud. Really enjoyed the chat. Very good. So what he's talking about, the last video we did was I fell on the TZ 90s, TZ 95s. They just tend to work. Now, does that mean that's the best shaft ever? For me, right now, yes. For you, maybe something else. That's the idea of fitting, right? So maybe the 105 would have worked for you better. Maybe the 70 gram. Just depends on who you are, how you swing, how you load, that kind of stuff. And that's the reason why having those three, because that PGI shaft worked really good for me, and it was really, really close. It just turned out that the other one inched it out just by ever so slightly. So, yeah, I mean, you couldn't go wrong either way. Matt, no rounds? What? In honor of Memorial Day, what is your favorite war movie? Mine is The Longest Day and The Man Who Never Was. Thanks again for your service. Mr. Revlock, thank you very much. Well, one of my favorite war movies is Patton. Although I'm not an Army guy, but Patton was one, and then the U-50, was it 505 or 501? Das Boot. Or it's either Das Boot or Das Boot, depending on if you see the German one or the American one that was subbed. But yeah, the Das Boot. I got to have a Navy one in there. I mean, come on. And the Battle of Midway is another one that runs right up there. As far as my rounds, I got one in, and it was absolutely pathetic. Shot an 85 with a 40 and a 45, and putting, I averaged, instead of 36, I got 37. Had 4 1 putts, but I had 3 3 putts or 5 3 putts. So I was just equaling it out. My swinging was just terrible. I just couldn't hit the ball very well. And I was just butting it along just to try and keep it in front of me so I didn't have to do it. All righty. Dambunga! What do you say, sir? Just want to thank you again for the Apex Raw. Played my first tournament with them over the weekend. Perfect quality from the field of the Ferals. All right. Nice. Glad you like it. Past My Prime is back. We noticed, man. Michael Moody saying hello. Hey, how about Michael Block slam dunk on Takepka? How about that? Everybody was. I didn't get to see the first swing. All I saw were a bunch of highlights, and everybody was talking about Michael Block and jarring a par three. And they were telling me, as I guess he got the hole in one, and Rory hugged him, and he's like, "Oh, okay, that's pretty nice." He was happy that I got it within like 10 foot, then realized he had jarred it. So, that's kind of funny. The dude seems like if he could play and keep up, which he did at 15th place finish, he could be a real character on the tour. Somebody asked me to describe him, and I said he's somewhere between a Fuzzy Zeller and a John Daly. And as far as friendly ongoing is, so I remember one of the stories. He says, "Well, where were you?" "Oh, we were at the bar talking about stuff." I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome." So there you go. Guy Hall, how you doing? Charlie, thank you for the 15, sir. As far as woman goes, I have to say 571 Das Boot. There it is. 501. You know where I got 505 from? That's the boat that's up in Illinois. And they made a movie of recovering that damn thing. That's the reason why I did that. 571. You are correct. Slats, how you doing, sir? Emmanuel, what do you say? Hey, Jimmy Rob and the rest of the faithful McGolf followers, 81 last week. There you go. Well done. Do you think it would be worthwhile to update my Mitchell Loft and I machine with an auditor digital one? It would depend on how old your Loft and Lie machine is. Mine's 20, and I wouldn't change it out for the world. Now I do need those the pads that they set the irons on. I do need to change those out. They're getting kind of gross after 20 years, but yeah. The auditor stuff is very, very nice. Don't get me wrong. The Mitchell, I think, is just probably the best machine out there, and they do have the digital ones, and the digital is cool to impress your friends and whatnot. But the bottom line is, if you're going for a mark, you're either going for the mark or in the half. And everything in the Navy has ever told me was that when you read a gauge, the best you can do is half a divisor, meaning if it goes 1 to 2, then you can go 1.5. And that's it. And that's what this thing does, and with precision. And the only thing you got to worry about is the guy on the end of the bending bar. So if it's working for you, I would say not a problem. If you're looking to show people your level of precision, then yes, get the digital one. I have the auditor putter bender with the digital on it, and I use it sparingly. I use the digital part sparingly because it still comes with the gauge. It's a dead on machine. I just don't feel the need for the display. Phil K. Happy Monday. Another fitting question. No problem. After you determine the correct length, is that for a 6-iron? Yes. Then you go half-inch increments up and down. Most of the time. Most of the time. So let's talk about that. So when we do this, we go through, well, my 6-irons are in half-inch increments. Yes. But when I if you're asking me for the testing, then the answer is yes, half-inch increments. Quarter-inch increments. It's kind of a rare animal that would for what you have to invest to what you're going to spend. It would be. I don't think it's a good idea to go in quarter inches. Now, if you want to be the most precise guy on finding length, then yes, you do. But as far as fitting most, like 99.8% of the golfers on the planet, then you only need to go down into the halves. Now, keep in mind when you start getting tall isn't so bad, but getting short it is. And when you get short, say like an inch short, your build methodology's got to change. All righty. Slash, thanks for the explanation of the fitting process. It was very helpful. Thanks for these weekly chats. Not a problem, bud. Information interesting. We appreciate sharing the wealth. Not a problem. Played 9 last week, couldn't finish 18. My back got so tight I could barely hit a club. Dude, take care of yourself. And to call it quits, shot a decent +8 for the first round. Dude, that's not bad for 9 holes, and you're basically, and you wouldn't be the only one. When people go through some major injury or major surgeries or something along that lines, chances are you are protecting whatever that is that you got worked on or hurt. So if you have rotator cuff surgery, you get guys that will swing and they'll be like this instead of getting way out because they're protecting this, right? You get guys in the back that will turn and will do nothing, and they're like swinging. They look like a pole, right? Or they don't turn at all and it's all arm swing because you're protecting yourself. All right. And that's Mother Nature coming to help. But after a bit, when you're fully healed up, you got to get it through here. And, but first you got to get healed up. And that's the big thing. I know I've told you the story before. I had a gentleman come into the shop when we were out on the highway, and a tall fella, 6'5", 6'6", a longer neck. And I'll tell you why I noticed that. And he comes in, he says, "Hey, I can only hit my driver 50 yards. I said, "Dude, there is nobody on this planet that is your height and your age that hits the driver 50 yards. And he says, "Oh, no, I'm 50 yards. So I said, "Okay, show me." And he shows me, and he swings the club this far, like that. And I get up close to him, I start talking to him, and I notice a scar. And right here, and I go, "Okay, have you had any surgeries lately?" And he goes, "Oh, my." Well, he goes to tell me that they fused some bones in his neck, and they had to go through this way. He had a rotator cuff on this one, had some over here, had some over here. A laundry list of surgeries, and all at the same time. This guy was a walking pincushion for a while, and so that's just. And I'm like, holy cow! All right, so I said, I said, "You're totally recovered. Doctors let you go. It's been a while." He says, "Oh, easily a year." I'm like, okay. So told him to get his address position. I said, "Now bring the club back." As he brings the club back, I grab it and I pull it and I make him go up about halfway. You should have heard the wind sucking in on that one. Like I had just busted through all kinds of protect the body swings that he'd ever done. I said, "Now go put it back." I said, "Now swing forward." And I did it again. I said, "Well, look at that. You can swing halfway to halfway and not even have to, and it doesn't hurt, right? I didn't hurt you." And he said, "No, no." I said, "Now hit it." So he comes back halfway, goes through halfway, and he hits it, and it goes 125 yards. I'm like, "Well, look at us make progress." And I said, "Okay, let's do it again." I took him, and this time I went all the way back and all the way forward. And I said, "Now swing." And he was still swinging timidly, but I was like, "Okay." And he swings, and I said, "Okay, now pour a little steam to it." He hits a little steam, gets out to 200 yards. So from 50 to 200. And I was like, so that's my claim to fame. How much distance can you get on a guy and a driver? And I say 150 yards. And everybody goes, "What?" And that's the story that follows. But yeah, so you can get away from protecting yourself. So get healed up and be good to go. Mr. Jones looks like, oh, today. Good for you, man. All right. Just seems antiquated for all the OEM lofts and live variances. Well, it depends on your model, Emmanuel. I've got the one that will bend fairy woods and hybrids, so I'm not giving this thing up. And it will measure both sides. Now, if yours doesn't measure both sides just for the sake of convenience, yes, change it out. Right, change it out. But the loss and lies on a Mitchell machine shouldn't be a big deal. But now if you got just a single iron bender, I might consider that. If you had one of the older deluxe models, then no. But if you have the iron bender one where they had the rods and whatnot, I might. I in that particular case, I might. Thanks, Robin. Had my knee replaced and did very sociable for the month of April. Grandpa duties in May. Well, you go, man. Hopefully everything is working out. Knee replacements, the worst part about that is the therapy. At least so I've been told. It is. It's not a bad looking iron, Charlie. It's very clean, right? It's very clean, and there's a lot of sole on it right here. And this is a 9 iron, but this is pretty big. I mean, for what it is, that's pretty big. And of course, all the shapes change on all the forgings. You know, the 4 iron's much narrower and maybe a little bit longer, where this one's a little taller. But yeah, and I like the peening on here. You know, just to give it that nice satiny finish. A little bit on here. I mean, it's a good looking club. Good looking club. The only unfortunate part about it is I don't think none of them come in left-handed. So, oops, that's done. All righty. My dog Rex, what do you say, sir? Oh, yeah, my dog Rex, he reminded me. If you would, like and subscribe, hit that bell across the bottom, hit the notification, all that stuff, so that we can get more of this information out to the YouTube universe. I'd appreciate it. All righty. Those 14s are gorgeous. I also like the look of the RM4 raw wedges. Yeah, so, and I had to go do some research. Apparently, this is the bigger brother to the TB5. The TB5 was more of the traditional version of this, a smaller blade look, and the lofts weren't nearly as strong. If I remember correctly, this is like a 23-degree 5 iron. That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot. And to do it a forge and to be able to get up in the air, yeah, it's going to be a rocket launcher. Oh, here's a new one, JCW777 from Royal Dornoch. Royal Dornoch. Sorry, that was just the American in me. All righty. Well, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Nice clubs. Yeah, they all turned out pretty good. We were really happy with them. Bill Nauman, what do you say? Really want to see the L.A.B putter and your thoughts. Yeah. My first thought is it's not overly heavy. When you go to swing it, and there's some weight at the bottom, right? There's some weight at the bottom, and I'm like, okay, well, let's see what this thing does. It automatically sets flat for me. I like that part. It's not it's not overly it's not overly heavy like this thing would think that it would be, right? I mean, that's just, you see all those gizmos on there, and as big as this thing is, you would think that it's that it would be like swinging a tank, but it's not. And so there's a lot to unpack still with this. So it'll be a lot of fun to try it out. All right. I did not mic them, Charlie. I just went to go look at them, and the 370 shaft is just right there at the end of the chamfer. And I thought, well, I could do that. And then I put my reamer on there, and it gets right on the side of the edge. And I was like, aye. In most cases, I wouldn't even care. But in this one, I think I do. Because I don't know their whole build process. I know it's a soft steel. It's their Japanese S20C, which I think is a 1020 for us. So not too bad. Yeah, they do. They do. And it was funny. So congrats to Fuji, because the longer iron shaft is actually longer than the mid than the other ones. And they're all within the weight tolerances. These things are well made. And what this thing has is the Velo core. All right, the Velo core. Now, this is the first iron shaft with a Velo core in it. And I always called it Velocore, and it's Velocore. At least that's what the guy on the website was calling it. So we'll call it that too. All right. RSG from St. Louis. Hope you have a great Memorial Day, and thank you for your service. You are more than welcome, sir. Speaking of that, Mrs. McGolf and I talked about it, and we will not be doing a Memorial Day special. We plan on just having a nice long weekend, taking maybe a bit of a break on it, and enjoying each other's company, and we will get right back to it the following week. So I'd much rather you guys spend, although I like talking with you guys, and Mrs. McGolf knows that I think that, spending time with the family, figuring out what Memorial Day is all about is far more important. So thank you guys again. All right. Robin, did the bird that we discussed have a friend who acted to away from the Peter's back. Hey, buddy. How you doing, sir? I have 2 L.A.B putters, the Dual 2.1, which my wife adopted from me, and I'm using the Mez, with the BGT putter shaft. So, Peter, what do you think? This thing is the other thing that Sam is all about is that low torque. So the BGT is certainly in the realm of that. He limited it to us, the Acra shafts. So that's what we got. And although I could pick the color, I could have got a white one. I didn't think that would look cool. I like the black one. And but the zero torque. So, I'm down with the low torque because although the Makefield didn't quite give me all the 2 putts and 1 putts I wanted, because it gave me some 3s, but normally a couple of those 3s that I had were the bonehead at the end of the putter shaft instead of the head. So, I am full believer in the low torque. But I'm glad you're back, man. I would like to hear more about it, though, what you think about it. Get him roll some putts with it. Jim gives us an impromptu review. Well, you know what? I've been thinking about this. The computer that I'm working off of now doesn't allow it, but my other one did. In that when I was at the PGA show and I was talking to you guys, and we were doing this before, and I was able to use this or the mics that came with it, and using earbuds and whatnot with that. If I go grab that computer and bring it down here, then my camera that I have can act as a webcam as well, and we can move it around. Maybe get Mrs. McGolf to help us out. Either that, or I move this thing around. So you never know. We might Charlie, come up on something. We might have a very interactive live stream. That could be very cool going forward. Bill, I went with a 67 and a 30 and a 34, but I think I'm gonna choke down on a little bit. We'll see, and then we'll go from there. L.A.B Golf is not only is it a great putter, but you can only use it as a hammer of Thor. There's no doubt, dude. I'm telling you, this thing looks like something off a post-apocalyptic kind of setup, man. I mean, it looks like one of those little small tanks you see on the Robot Wars. And but it's cool. Don't get me wrong. I think it's cool. I was telling him, we were talking about it, kind of joking around a little bit. I said, whenever you do these things, you need to be able to, be able to design it so that it can pick up a golf ball with a scoop. He's like, oh yeah, oh yeah. There we go. Krister, how are you, sir? Glad you can make it from Sweden. And I did see some of your Instagram. Yeah, your Instagram swing. Much nicer, dude. Much smoothed out. Well done. Good work. Looks good now. Matt, Sally was screaming that the exact bird that we saw at Robbins. Phil, say you want to pull a putter grip and use it on a different putter. How easy is it to save the grip without destroying it and trying to remove it? Well, this is the way I go, Phil. Unless it's something crazy expensive, I don't. I don't even think about it. However, if you have something like this, and what this is, if we get in there really close, this is a two-part putter grip, like a Win, okay? And those are very, very hard to get off because that underneath listing is very firm. And you can try and blow it off, but if you're a novice at it, chances are you're going to blow a hole straight through the side. The second part is taking a needle gun, running a needle through it, and letting it go down the shaft, and so that what it does is that you're shooting a grip solvent in there to reactivate the tape so that you can pull the grip off. I've done that. You're going to ruin a needle almost immediately, so it's going to cost you. But yeah, it can come off. Now, there is another way of doing it, and I have yet to be successful with it. They have these, it's a tool that's about that long, about a foot and a half long, and it's a handle, just a regular handle, and a piece of metal can't be this long all the way, and it's just the shape of a V. What you do is you wedge that tool underneath there, and you squirt the solvent underneath the V, and you work your way in there, and you keep going and going and going until you get all that solvent in there, and you work it around and you go. I don't I don't know if it's I just don't have the patience for it, or it doesn't make up with the way I think, or a combination of both. I've just never been successful with that. I just shoot them and go. Now if it's a rubber grip, you could use either one. Blowing it off, you could probably do, or you just hit it with some solvent and easy to come off. But that's what we do here. There we go. Well done, fellas. Man, it's old home week. Camilio's back. Hey, good morning, buddy. Glad to see you're here. All righty. Stu, what is the length of a 7-iron if it is at playing? Wait a minute. What is the cut length of a 7-iron shaft if it is playing at 37 inches long, so standard length? Well, Stu, you have to make an assumption here that the insertion depth is going to be about an inch and a quarter. Yeah. And then the bottom of the bore to ground is about an inch. Okay. And that means that what I mean is from here to here is about an inch and a quarter. And then if this is its playing length from here to where the ground is, you see how it curves here? A straight line to where it makes it to the ground, which is probably from about here to here. So maybe another inch to an inch and a quarter. So if you were to take off an inch and a quarter, or add an inch and a, no, take off an inch and a quarter, you would probably be somewhere in the 36 to 35 and 3/4 area, probably in that neck of the woods. I got that right because we want 37 inches minus the inch. That would make it 36 to 36 and 3/4. Yeah, that'd be about right. All right, Krister, as a fitter, what do you look at? What do you look for when it comes to dynamic loft? How much lower than static loft would it be? What is a good dynamic loft range? Mine is often 10 to 12 lower than the static loft. Well, so they tend to go hand in hand. Krister, what they do is they tend to go hand in hand with the attack angle. What you're telling me here is your dynamic loft is because I know the kinds of equipment that you're swinging. You're not, what it is that you probably have a higher than what would be average attack angle or angle of attack, and so do I. The uh, on the average is anywhere from a plus number, saying a driver, down to a negative number, saying to an iron, and probably 3, 4 degrees, maybe, depending on the iron. I potentially am at 6 and 7 degrees in a lot of cases, and it's because of the way that I come in and I hold on to it just a little bit. For me, that's called chopping wood. And I've seen yours, and from seeing your swing, it doesn't surprise me. So it just what that means is that you're getting a little bit more out of your golf club, and you may not be spinning it as much as you would for a norm, and that's swing related, not equipment related. Now you could always, if you wanted to lose a little distance, you could always jack the loft backwards and make it weaker, and you would get some stuff, but I've never known a golfer that says, "Yeah, I want to hit it shorter." The enemy below, yes. The To Hell and Back with Audie Murphy. Oh, that was a good one. Yep, yep, I like that one too. Yes, Audie Murphy was cool. If he was anything like he was in the movies, that man was awesome. An old soul. Good for you. All right. RSG, I liked Block after his hole in one. What did you hit? A 7 iron, which is what I would have hit. Roy, what did you hit? Pitching wedge, trophy, yellow, smiling. Yeah. Well, you know what? There you go. It just goes to show you it really doesn't matter. That man used exactly what he needed to get it to where he needed to be, and Rory would have done something where he would have sent it into outer space, where he hit a nice drilling 7 iron. And I would imagine that even the pros right now saw that, and they started practicing 7 irons at those distances to see whether or not it was okay to get closer versus a pitching wedge. Guarantee they're hitting it right now. All right. Kyle golfs. Why don't more pros use stability putter shafts? That is one heck of a good question. My first inclination would be is because they're not getting paid to do it. And then I know where the next statement is, yeah, but if they win more money, why wouldn't they? And again, that is another great statement, except for these guys are extraordinarily good putters already. And I guarantee you, the first guy that breaks out and happens to have a stability golf shaft, they will flock to it. Absolutely flock to it. Now, my personal opinion, outside of not being paid, is that the shape probably freaks them out. Just probably freaks them out. That's basically what it is. Because the PGA golfers are very traditional, and they're very flock oriented. So if somebody or a couple of somebodies has some success, and this is where the velo core comes from. You had a guy do very good with a Fuji shaft. The guy says, "Yeah, I saw that dude did very well. Can I try that shaft?" "Sure, bud," and put it in. And now he does really good with it. Well, another guy takes note. Another guy takes note. And now pretty soon they all got velo cores in their shaft, and they're wanting to hit them. Now, what'll happen is the largest portion, not the largest, but a portion of them will go, it's not for me, and go back to the shaft that they had. But it's a trial. They say, well, this guy's having success with him. I'm a pro golfer. Maybe I will too. And the same thing with a putter. Same thing with a putter shaft. They will all be trying it. But honestly, that's basically it. But I think also the shape is probably they go from that what looks like a thick shaft down that little bitty part. For some reason, I think that might throw them off. Physical therapists are cruel and evil people. Past my prime. Now, if you take this where it says therapists and you break it down into the what it really means, you break it down and it's called the rapists. So you really, and yeah, I agree. Brian P., what do you say, man? Everybody's in today. No golf here in Edmonton? Well, sorry to hear that. In the heart of wildfire smoke. What? No. I hate to hear that for you. By the way, I've built a wood version of the Mez putter, just a prototype so far. Nice. Sonic Sega. What are your 4 favorite courses in Ohio based on design, not necessarily by difficulty? Uh, well, one of my favorites would be Firestone. I like Firestone because of it's got some history. I've played the North course. I think it's the North course, and it'll eat your lunch if you're not looking. But it's also not so difficult that it eats your lunch every time. I like that one. Uh, I think I would like to try the New Albany Country Club. That would be one. If I had to go to there's Inverness, I believe, is up here, and then if we're talking about TPC level stuff, and then there's Riverbend in Cincinnati. Those are if I could go play them, that's where I would go play. Uh, Now, if we're talking normal stuff, I like the place where me and Matt and Bob have played is Crown Hill. That's just one of my favorite. It's a muni course, but I do like it for what it does. There was a golf course that was near New Albany. There's a Linksy style course. I like that. Those are probably some of my favorites right there. The Scioto Country Club or that one would be kind of cool too. Jim Anderson, wish me luck. First game nearly 2 years. Local muni TC Robin. We have a male robin that hangs out in our back garden. Well, good luck, Jim. I hope it works out for you. Just remember, deep breath, relax, take a good swing. Past my prime, Brian. We are getting whiffs of your smoke in Central Illinois over the weekend. Oh, that's funny. Does pulling off MCC grips destroy the cord? If so, how does that work? Well, no, not necessarily. Okay, so cords are they're the best way to describe it is kind of like pressed into the rubber when they form it. It's not like a weave per se. It's like imagine if you wrapped it around there and you squeezed it in there. And then as the idea is the more that you wear the grip, the more the cord shows up. That's the reason why you need to clean your grips, no matter if they're corded or not. You get done after about 3 rounds, hit that thing with some hot water and a nice microfiber towel till it squeaks and you'd be good to go. Same thing with the cord, and then it gets ever more coarse, and that's what helps you hang on to it. Now, when you go to do that, when you go to say blow the grip off, what it does, it blows it up, and the cord moves with it, and it goes down, and it blows through the entire grip, and then you can pull it off. Now, if you blow it up and the grip is like this big, and you blow it up like a balloon, yeah, all right. But we're talking about you get it in there, and it kind of goes like that. And you go through there? No, you're fine. We're in Central Illinois, Springfield. There we go. Krister says old irons often have a square heel to hosel. Old irons often have square heel to hosel. Okay. What does that do for performance of the club? Modern irons where the heel to hosel is more rounded. I like a more sharp heel. All right. So, Krister, what that really does is for most of it's more of a design property. Okay. In the beginning, the older clubs, and we'll talk about 70-ish, McGregor, Spalding, all those guys were all the rage. and you would see a lot of, and what that was is uh, based on the condition of the courses. Back in the day, the courses weren't nearly as manicured as they are now. Look at Arnold Palmer when he was putting. That dude had to really mash a putter to get the ball to go 10 foot. Now you barely touch it and it goes screaming by. Well, the same thing can be said in the iron category, uh, where they where they're where this is squared off here, where this is it goes right from here and go in. That's like zero offset, and then you have like a leading edge that's a little sharper, and that was back in the day when they weren't taking monster divots. If you go and look at these guys, they're hardly getting towards it. They were a lot of pickers, and so that it was, and they were using the Bellata ball. So there was a lot going on, and they had to play golf in order to do what they were wanting to do. And if you noticed, a lot of the hosels were way bigger. That drew the center of gravity more towards the hosel. If you go to the Golf Hall of Fame, and you'll see in some of the really older models that the center of gravity of the best part, there'll be a wear mark right in here, not here. It'll be here, and that's because that's where the best part of the club was at, and that's the reason why you'll see that. Every once in a while, somebody will do that, but now that courses are more manicured, the fairways are closer to. I mean, you're only talking about this much. Now there's not a lot to get caught through or something for the ball to set up on, and you have to go down and get underneath of it, which means getting some turf. And if you get some turf, then you need it to be rounded, otherwise it turns into a shovel. Hence where the name came from. All righty. There they go. All righty. Mr. McGolf talking to a Stephen F. Dennis Hood, Robin, Audie Murphy was one of the most decorated American combat soldiers of World War II. Yes, he was, and he was a good man when it was all said and done, too. We come up from St. Louis with a big group and play the rail over a Saturday and Sunday, second week of July for the last 20 years. Nice. Well done. I'm getting ready to go. Mr. McGolf has told me we're my golf spy. We're having a weekend thing. We're going to Pinehurst, and it's a Saturday, Sunday kind of ordeal. We're coming in Friday night and then play 2 rounds on Saturday and 1 round on Sunday, and we go home. So what was that all about? She gave me the thumbs up. Anyway, so that's going to be quite the trip too. No name tournament. All right. Kent's in here. All righty. Course doesn't have to be expensive to be enjoyable, Jim. You are correct, sir. That's the reason why I like Crown Hill, and there's another one. It's out towards Batavia. It's about an hour from here. Salt. I keep calling it Salt Lick. Very nice course and not very expensive. Well, in comparison, it's not bad, but it's not like the other ones I noticed. And it's a great track too. I like it. So what does she know? Yeah. Where can you find cord grips? Well, half cords is easy. MCC has got them. To find fully corded grips, RS, the only one that I'm fully aware of right off the top is they're called uh, BGCs, BTCs. It's the Tour Velvet fully corded grip, and there is a Z grip that is like that as well, fully corded. You can get that. I'm sure Lampkin has their version of the same. And then the only other competitor that comes close, but it's not a cord, is like the Pure Grip has the DTX, and it's an extraordinarily aggressive pattern that's on the rubber. All righty. Dynamic loft on my forged irons is 12. Spin is at 41. Well, that's not bad. -5. I like that one. That's not too bad. I'd take all those. Yeah. That's what we'll call it. What about if a grip is pulled off with a tool that you stick down the grip? As long as the person's not, moving around. If you just put it in there and you get it in there and you work it around, I still don't think that would be a problem. Sometimes sometimes I think the same thing. I was hitting some of those clubs, like, holy moly. Alrighty. He likes the look of a shovel iron. Hey, you know what? And they do look cool, but you've always gravitated towards that kind of stuff. Well, I think I would like the narrower soles, but I'm a radius guy. I like curvature along the bottom. It wouldn't matter, if it was a narrow one, I'd be kind of nervous at first, but I think I could get around that. Kyle, again, let's see if the quarter grip question. Oh, I had a shop put my grips on sideways and then they reinstalled my grips. Went back to have two grips swapped out, and some of the employees gave me a heck telling them it destroys the cord. Like I said, only if you get the other way, dude. Unless they're doing something that I'm not aware of. Steven, Flora, how are you guys? Glad to see you're on with via Facebook. Thank you very much. I'm telling them the manager there had done it for his whole entire set. And if they're there you go. That all of a sudden, right? That's just making it. All that is, it sounds like they were making an excuse. Hey, look at that! Hey, even all the way from over here, Krister. Not bad. Good job. Hey, Wilson. When using air to put your grips on, what sort of tape do you use? I've heard you can use regular masking tape, but I've no luck with it. Should I use regular grip tape when putting on the air method? Well, I've tried this a couple of times, a Wilson, and I do not like that. Uh, the only way that would work out is if I would like run a little bit of solvent along there, so it allows you to slip it on. But then again, why need the air, right? There's two ways. I've heard masking tape. I've not heard of. However, what I have heard is the blue painter's tape. The blue painter's tape has worked, and that goes around it, and it sticks. It's one of those 100% sticky, but it's not super sticky. I've heard that works, and then and not using any at all. A lot of folks, a lot of these guys, they don't believe in using the tape at all. That seems kind of counterintuitive to me, to be honest, because I was always brought up that the grips are manufactured to absorb that one layer of tape. So I'm not real sure. All righty. Dennis Hood. Whichever swing weight a person determines feels best for him, should that swing weight be pretty close or matched through all the clubs except for the putter? I would say, huh? Well, we're really close anyway. Okay. Then I would say that would be true for the irons and only the irons. And then the swing weight in the wedges it depends on the person. It can be the same or it can be slightly higher. And then in the woods it would be slightly lower on the average. Yeah, Z chord. That's the one I was talking about. Yep, good one. Steven Jarmilio, how you doing? One question. If the shaft is smaller than the club head, what can I use to adjust this? From Panama. Well, thank you for staying up here from Panama. I actually been through the canal once. How about that? Uh, so if, let's just say, so for instance, this is smaller than in this, and this goes right in. Now, obviously, you can see what this is like for me, right? And it doesn't want to do that. But if this goes in and the hosel, like this is 355 and the other one's 370, as the case may be, you use what's called a shim. All right, shims come in various sizes, but the one that's most common out there is a brass shim. And if you were to flatten it out, it would look like a starfish. There would be all these tentacles all the way around. And what it does, it goes around the shaft like that, and then it takes up that extra area. Now, there are several different kinds of adapters. They go from 355 to 370, 350 to 400, 370 to 400, 335 to 350. So you want to make sure you have the right one. If you're dealing with irons, chances are it's 355 to 370. And then you put that in there. Make sure you got glue on both sides, and you should be good to go. Stephen from Northern Kentucky, trying to get out your way sometime to check out the shop. Well, be my guest, sir. Okay. So, looks like we got down to the end. All right. So, again, there will be it's called another world's worst repair. You remember when I showed you about all the JB weld on it? Well, I fixed it. And it's like from worst to best, and it's kind of a funny little setup, and we'll be good there. The other one is Monday we will not be doing a live stream, so don't hold it against me. I would much rather you enjoy your time with your family, maybe get a round of golf in. I know I will, and enjoy it. And then when we come back, it'll give me a week, and we will be talking about that guy. And maybe I'll get lucky and we can get the owner to get on here and we'll be talking about that.
Don't forget that it's my birthday on Wednesday, so that's the reason you're taking it.
That's right. It's her birthday on Wednesday, so that's why I'm not doing it. Yeah, because Wednesday would be all that. Although somehow I've made brisket for her now, and I'm making steak for her the next day, and for this stuff for this. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see how that works out. Again, guys and gals, thank you for watching. Make sure you hit that like button. Look out for the videos when they come through. Enjoy your holiday. Please enjoy your holiday. And as usual, let's see your scores. Go low.